couple weeks ago I did a scope on communication and how we all really fail and suck at communication and good communication practices, whether it be using the wrong modes of communication or just simply not being as clear and concise as we should be. And this scope kind of goes along with that, in the sense that when you communicate with somebody, typically you're listening or interpreting or trying to understand what someone else is saying. And oftentimes when we talk with other people, we're not always listening the best that we should be. In fact, instead of really listening to understand, like my quote I put out there today by Stephen Covey, instead of listening to understand, people are often listening with the intent of what they can say next. And that's often a big mistake of everybody, not only to the point of what to say next, is a lot of people I know just simply talk over other people, or they don't let other people finish their conversation or finish their point. They just simply, rudely butt in and start talking about whatever was on their mind in that exact moment. Because somehow, again, everyone wants to feel important. Everybody wants to, be in the spotlight or have something to say, and wants to be heard. And so that's where listening ends up failing us, and we either offend or we don't end up understanding what the other person is trying to say or come across with. We don't seek to clarify, understand. That's another thing. Instead of just sitting there and listening, active listening is a part of listening. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about active listening too, along with the actual act of listening. And so active listening, you seek to put all your own points and things in the back of your mind, and you seek to clarify and understand what that person is trying to say by asking questions like, oh, that's interesting, so what you're saying is, and repeat it back to them. You don't want it to be a one-way street. You want it to be, if anything, a one-way street to a point of the other person telling you, rather, what they are trying to get you to understand, what they mean, clarify what they're talking about. And if we just put on the shelf, what our perspective is, or what we're trying to fix in that person, or our ideas about the situation, and just try to understand where they're coming from, and try to listen with our ears rather than with our mouths, we not only will have better relationships with our family and those people close to us, but we'll have better business relationships. Thank you. Yes, communication is key, and this part of listening can go so far. If you're a salesperson, for example, and you go into someone's office, or you got an appointment with someone, and you go in there and you start telling them all about you, all about how your company's great, all about how your products are going to solve, all mankind's problems, that is the least bit concerning for that guy or gal. They don't care a single iota about that. They care more about, what they're going to have for lunch than they do about what you have to say and what your products or whatever you're trying to come across and do. And so rather take an interest in what they're interested about, and by building that rapport and building that goodwill with them, perhaps it would lead to a conversation about what your interests are, and perhaps how you could help them with, whatever product or, sales position or things that you're trying to bring them value with. And I think if more people just slowed down and understood that, there'd be a lot less of, all the problems, all the sales failures out there, people that, leave sales because they, get frustrated because, so-and-so isn't buying, or people are too distracted. And don't get me wrong, people are too distracted, and there is too much going on in everyone's lives. But I think if we all kind of bring back this civility, right, and have, I think just being a common gentleman and showing other people the courtesy, it's kind of that golden rule that Jesus talked about, not to mention like 1,000 other philosophers like Buddha and everybody else. But it's this idea that you should be doing unto others what you would have them do to you. Yeah, like, know, and trust. It comes back to that. But even more than that, JB, like, know, and trust, in order to even start to like and know have somebody like and know you, is you have to like and know them first, right? You have to be likable. You have to be agreeable. You have to be genuinely interested in other people. And so much to the point that it's not even what you can get out of that person, right? You might discover that they are not a person that will even, maybe isn't even capable of buying from you or making a buying decision. And in the case of just having good relationships with people, you're not even having them, you're not selling somebody. You're not trying to sell your spouse, your product or your investment deal or whatever, right? But you should still genuinely want to like her and have her or him like you, right? And have good listening skills with that person to be able to truly understand what they're saying and what they're trying to come across with you, or whatever conversation you're having with them. And additionally then building that trust with them and forging that relationship further. So just as within personal relationships, this applies to business relationships. It applies to casual acquaintances. The more that you can be a gentleman with etiquette, the more you can be someone that listens more than they talk, which is, again, really, really hard to do, because we all want to feel important and we all want to say what's on our minds and talk about what we know. That's really hard to do. So if we can master those things and talk less, listen more, be agreeable, find things that you can genuinely be interested in with another person, you'll go a very long way in this world, and you will become a successful business owner, a successful relationship handler, if you will, good with relationships, and you will become a great leader. So with that, my friends, I will leave you with that today. I will see you all tomorrow. Thanks.